Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on KAFTAN television this beautiful day. This is Joy Asonye Live, and I'm happy to have you join us. Today we'll be talking about the APC zoning and legislative autonomy. Now, reactions continue to trail the announcement of the National Working Committee of the All Progressive Congress, APC, as it zoned the position of the Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives representatives in the 10th House or Assembly rather. The party also agreed on a consensus announcing former Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Senator Godswill Akpabio, as the anointed next Senate President, while Honorable Tajuddin Abbas from Kaduna of the House of Representatives. The party also confirmed Senator Barau Jibrin from the Northwest as Deputy Senate President and Honorable Ben Kalu from the Southwest. This is coming as some groups within the party have also demanded for equity, fairness and justice, insisting that Nigerians would resist this imposition, as they call it. Now the question would be, where would the APC, the dissenting voices within the APC, where would they go? For those who are renegades, as they are mentioned in the media lately, where would they go? Would they have the strength and the power and the backing from opposition to indeed emerge despite this anointment that we have seen? That's what we'll be discussing on Joy Asonye Live today. And I have Comrade Duke Alamboye. He's the National Coordinator of Green Assembly Initiative and the National Secretary, Nigeria Youth Organization, with us. He's going to hopefully be a little dispassionate and tell us what he believes would be the case. Comrade, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me once more in your program today.
Yes, I mean, it's because I know your political leanings, and so I would really want you to be a little dispassionate and act like a social commentator that I know you to be on today's program. We'll go for a short break now and return to discuss more. Stay with us. Welcome back from that short break. This is still Joy Asonye Live. Like I said earlier, we're talking about APC zoning and legislative autonomy, and we have Comrade Duke Alamboye right here with us. So, Comrade Duke, I think we just start the conversation by asking, where does the powers of the political party really begin or end when it comes to this primary responsibility of members of both legislative arms to elect their members?
Well, there's a clear definition. You know, what is happening in our democratic setting today is quite amazing and disheartening. In as much as I believe that I'm of a school of thought that yes, politicians should be really engaging in their activities, the parties should be more articulated when it comes to their formation and structural behaviors. It does not take away the stipulations and the firm stance of the Constitution. This is really an intrusion into the activities of the legislation. I think the party can, yes, of course, they have the right to streamline and forecast, yes, to streamline and forecast for good governance, can zone where their principal active officers of an administration should be. That is one, they have the right to do that. I am also aware that they have the right to also see that the administration captures all the zones, all the states, give it a federal capital, a federal look, such that nobody is marginalized. That could be achieved close to a 90-100%. Then that government is responsive to national unity. I also agree with that. But be it as it may, I never envisaged, I never saw that in a modern democracy where the party will zone and microzone and then went further to mention names. In as much as in my opinions, I will be favorable to some of these candidates they've favored. But I think for the purpose of posterity and constitutionalism, it is not fair. The party, if they enjoy majority in the legislation, and there's going to be franchise in the legislation, can go inward and get a preferred zone.
Okay.
And then allow the candidates from that zone to compete, and a favorable one will emerge.
Wouldn't that be dividing the vote for the political party? It doesn't matter how much you have.
Everybody, yes. Now the sensibility of the you now checkmates and get the sensibility of the assembly as it is. What is happening now is a position again to the legislation. So when you don't allow the legislation to go, it then means come to June or whatever, when the legislation will be doing their in-house elections, it means there won't be any need. Then let us take it to the legislative powers to say that when the president elects, he nominates who leads the legislation. That is just the meaning from what is happening. But I'm also telling you that the party is also right to say they are zoning whatever position to whatever region to balance their political structures. I agree with that, but when you begin to mention names of candidates, having known that that zone you've seeded such, like for instance, as the case of the Senate president, you say let you go to the South. You have South assembly members that are interested to run. You give it open. Let the legislators go in there and struggle out with the use of lobby and conviction to their members and get the elections done.
Don't you think it's double standards, Comrade Duke, when you hear opposition agree to having a consensus candidate? The opposition we are hearing permutations that they want to come together and have a consensus candidate. But when the APC does it, you hear also from your narrative that yes, it is imposition to other candidates.
Let me clear you. In the House, there are minorities. The opposition, as it stands today, they are minorities, and that the strength of their minority can also be useful at a time like this. So it is even more pertinent and more important that it is the minority that should group themselves to say these persons from our majority line are struggling to who are we going to look at, and then give that responsibility to, so that they have their own sense of belonging when it comes to minority issues. It's different from when doing that by checkmating, where the majority party is ceding it to. They can also disagree to say, okay, having heard the APC ceded the Senate presidency to the South. No. In our opinion, it should go to the Southeast, and even decide to support someone coming from there. So that is why you don't really need to zone and then pronounce or endorse a candidate.
Okay, my question to you now will be, if you were the president-elect, or let's say the leader of the APC at the moment, would you allow that proliferation, having more than one candidate from your political party, knowing very well that if the opposition aligns, should there be hypothetically that kind of scenario where the opposition aligns, you would already be dividing the vote of the APC?
Joy, the persons that will be contesting for that, the House rule has already stated that somebody from the majority party that will contest for that is bound to contest for that. Secondly, all members that are going to contest are of the same party. So,
everybody actually has the right to contest. There's no rule that says it has to be majority.
There's no way majority.
If the opposition are able to really mobilize,
what I'm saying is that I'm giving a scenario. We shouldn't discuss party confidence as against the country's interest.
Right.
What we're discussing here now is how to ensure that the party is comfortable. We should be talking about how the country, the proceedings of the affairs of our nation, how it is stipulated in the constitution, should be in our confidence. We are not saying, for the sake of what we practice, party system, it also implies that political parties will have interest who becomes A or B. And in becoming A or B, in Nigeria, we adopt the zoning formula. So if the party had gone extra mile to say, we are zoning to zone A, for instance, we heard that they've zoned the Senate president to the South. I think, to me, in my opinion, that is enough. So the House members will begin to decide on that. The person you're even favoring, these are underground lobbies. The person you're even favoring may now begin to go to have those signals. These are not things that you come to the public to force people to take what you feel that is right, not what is constitutionally done. I ask you a question, then what are they going to do by June or so that they will be doing their in-house legislation? Then everything, the president should just sit down, president-elect should just sit down and say, these are the house members, and then submit to,
it is not
to this
within,
thing.
it is not
that is the implication
it.
of what they are doing. I am strongly in support of Senator Akpabio emerging, and but from what we're hearing on air, is favored. But I'm also saying, for the sake of fairness, for the sake of putting precedents on ground, the party can achieve all of this. It is putting on social media fronts and main media fronts silently, as it is done in developed countries. You can microzone to a zone and then also have a preferred candidate, and then call him preferred, and then work on the instrument they use, which is lobby. Lobbies are done silently.
Right.
Lobbies are done at the hopes of legislation. Lobbies are done at meeting outside legislation, and they acquire their media-free, media-protected instruments, so that when you project, when they come to the house, they should have that ambiguity, that sense of belonging to say that this is our decision.
Right.
And now, when you use the instrument of lobby, you will be forced to convincing a member why you should be, or why it should be that way. But when the party takes all its members, force them to agree on a particular candidate, whether I like it or not, when the party is going to talk to you, it seemingly sounds like the party is supreme, and when you're not taking to that direction, it's like you're not obeying the standards of the party. So members that do not even believe in the concept of that leadership, the person you're endorsing, may even feel astray to say, oh, well, and then you begin to see all form of oppressions, all form of removal, all form of not obeying that leadership in the Senate. So what I think best possible that would have been done is zoning, okay, microzoning also, but endorsing a candidate. The president-elect, the APC do not have any legal rights. They don't have any legislative right, any constitutional right to endorse.
But nobody's asking. Nobody's asking others not to endorse. If you will let me land with my question right now. Comrade, I just want to land with my question. What I'm saying is that it's within their rights to have a consensus. Is one of they can decide on that. Nobody's saying that you two cannot go get your consensus.
Let me correct you, please, before you go further. The APC legislators, for instance, the senators from APC, can have a consensus,
which is what we heard.
Now what we're hearing is the NEC,
the National Working Committee.
This is why it bothers me. Well, once they're elected, they are no more party properties alone. They are the properties of Nigeria. That's why I said that the party on its stands
does not have
can say good minimal interference to say, let's direct our policy line, let's direct our formation. So therefore, look, young men of the Senate, we are thinking, or is our progression.
By the way, there are no young men.
That the Senate president should go to the South. Then you leave them to go and do their working. Somebody from the APC, from the South, will still emerge, but at a fair conviction of those members.
However, Comrade, it seems like nobody seemed to be winning. I mean, after this announcement of this zoning, let's keep the endorsement or anointing aside.
Yes.
Let's talk about just the zoning. We are seeing people also within the party, groups within the party also complaining that, well, I am from the North Central, and we are not seeing, we expected to see representation from the North Central, and we are also hearing the Northeast, the Southeast rather, who say no, we will not settle for the Deputy Speaker. We want to be Senate President, and all these narratives and rancors, which is very saddening. My question to you would be: would you have seen any kind of zoning that would make everybody happy? Is it even possible?
Definitely not possible. But I also know that government is an elephant's meat. There are lots of appointments, lots of parts to it. And everybody cannot function in a closet. We have people that will be appointed as SGF. We have a zone that will be appointed as speaker. We have a zone that we appointed a deputy speaker, Senate president, deputy Senate president, and so on and so forth. So it's so large, such that the chief of staff, and so on and so forth. So it is so large that you if you don't find yourself in a particular projection, you may find yourself in the other. But I think what is playing is personal interest overwhelming a communal interest. So people begin to quickly raise their alarm and make it an entitlement to themselves. Oh, because I've served in the Senate for 5 years. Oh, because I was this, that. Because my zone produced almost 100% of the, so you are entitled to this. It is not always like that. That entitlement, a speaker or loud, can come when you influence it through your party. For your party to understand that it should be zoned here, and when it is zoned there, of course, you are not a lone man that has produced everything there. We've seen politicians so selfish that they want to dictate everything that happens in their zone. I won't mention name. I've worked closely to some very cool politicians. Every appointment that comes to their zone
is theirs.
They want to act, they want to appoint, they want to nominate, they want to anoint everybody that comes to that zone. And it is not favorable. People have worked with you, people have friends, pals, contemporaries, and all over the places.
That brings us back. It takes us back to how this collection or composition of political stakeholders emerged in the first place. So a lot of them in their political parties came out of this concept of consensus, in spite of the cries from other aspirants at the time. If you remember, before the elections.
Yes.
So why are you complaining now? Most of them who are complaining now. So
these are the issues. These are the issues.
Are those who enjoyed the consensus concept.
Now, this is why we kept saying that it is dangerous to go by consensus at a time when you have very competent hands contesting. Always the party system should always let these persons go on field. When you concede and then you say A should go, the tendency when it becomes whatever it wants to become, it goes back to the house, and even now begin to think that those persons that left the scene for him, for party interest, for unity to reign, and protected him and defended him to win election, he begins to feel he is the one that is now even saddled with the responsibility of fielding them at whatever position. Too wrong, too selfish.
Exactly.
To mention. Allow them to also go in for whatever they want to go in. You cannot be, you want to become senator. Somebody contested with you. Party had called all of you to say, Senator A, B, C, D contestants, leave for A. They've left for you. You've emerged. Now, there are other appointments. You are the one now that will even dictate what they will become. That is absolutely wrong, and these are the issues that is.
It means that what you're saying is proper conversations are not really done in that stage.
Most times.
But my question would be: are we seeing those actors within that space make those? Because if you are asking me to step aside, I would make my demand. Those negotiations that are necessary at that stage.
There are negotiations that once you're within the party, when you are asked to step down, is an automatic condition for an appointment. So, but what appointment, what portfolio rather, is what you cannot really say at the time. It becomes more selfish, it becomes more, selfish actually to mention that. What is left for you now is to support the party structure to win election. When elections are won, everybody knows its capacity. What you are even yearning for, you might not be the only person that will be yearning for it. So leaders will begin to play the card to see who it favors. So an institution like the legislation, we are saying that it's not one that goes in for appointment. It's an elective in-house elections. So the party should play minimal role, not to influence or redirect the outcome. See, it has a way it will affect the body language, the cohesiveness, the cooperation that will be needed in the legislation. If you allow them struggle themselves to elect, it will be overwhelming. It will be for somebody to score 80% of votes in the assembly, on the assembly floor, or the floor of the assembly. it's a general acceptance. 70 is general, 60 is general. But when they all go to that chambers in anger, in pretense, and then do the will of the political party, that is how that party will begin to control proceedings of the legislation. They will not have their freedom. The Senate president will be there to do the functions,
the
bidding and functions of the. So you can't give what you give in is what you're going to get.
But does it concern you? I mean, when I read the report that came out of the National Working Committee meeting,
yes,
the president-elect was also there and sat to make that decision to anoint these principal players in the House. And my question would be, does it concern you that we would hear that phrase once again in the 10th Assembly of a rubber stamp assembly, where that healthy checks and balances that's necessary would not be seen?
That is it. You've rightly said the direction it is going. The party caucus have already decided to do the job of the legislation. So what they are going to do by June is what I don't know. If they said we have our preferred candidate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, they can now go submerge themselves again to see how they can lobby the fellow members to go and do the bid, not to sit down, get a whole national media to say they've endorsed. You can't endorse a senator to become a Senate president as a party. You can only prefer him. Then make him have a push, support him to lobby his colleagues, so that when he goes into the answer, he's having that generic or that general acceptance,
organic acceptance,
so that it is capability and ability to legislate, to lead the legislation, will be born out of the mercy he got from them, not from the party. So we begin to see when opposition legislative members begin to bring up some bills that will tend to correct the excesses or abnormality of the government. You will now see the senior president begin to come in to say, of course, he will impose so many things on them because they never voted him in. It was imposed by the executives. And so you will begin to see a legislation that will not be going forward, or will be doing the whims and caprices of government, whether they are right or wrong policies that will enhance productivity or economic growth of the nation. We've seen this happen often, and these are the areas where it is always wrong. These things happen even before elections. We see there's lots of malpractices to even electing a candidate, and when that candidate emerges and then is not publicly accepted candidate, parties begin to seek for malpractices and inducement and all vices that are associated to elections, and then prepare themselves for court. So exactly. This is the beginning. They are now bringing this again to the legislation. Tomorrow, when they want to appoint a Chief Justice of the Federation again, these things will happen. So you see the ties, not checks and balances anymore, but ties and influences from the executive in all ramifications.
Okay, a lot of people had thought that we would see the Southeast in one of these principal offices. I mean, not where Ben Kalu is being placed as the deputy speaker. For some would say, I mean, Ben Okezie Kalu is currently the spokesperson of the House of Representatives. He's quite young. He's just 52 years old, and he's really worked hard. He's one person you cannot talk about. You can't talk about the House of Representatives without his contributions.
Yeah, sure.
So we had thought he would play a more pivotal role. We were looking out to see him lead the Senate, and it goes back to the question, the House of Representatives. I beg your pardon. It goes back to the question of when the Southeast complains about positions, having these opportunities to also lead in very important political positions. Are they negotiating enough?
Well, that they didn't emerge as top principal officers in the legislation does not mean that they don't have anywhere to find their means. Like I told you. No,
my question is, are they negotiating enough?
What is the negotiation? How many are they, and where are they? what is their level of even cooperation to fight these things legitimately in wherever they find themselves. I don't want to dazzle into all of that, but where I'm taking it is from is, I think there is still hope. For the fact that they've not emerged, we can also say that Pius Aimi was once. We've seen people from the southeast. Yeah,
I'm just talking about. So I'm the composition of the government.
Yes, the president. There's a chief justice that is going to be appointed. There's also going to be SGF that is going to be appointed. There are so many key officers, principal officers in this government that have been appointed. So for the fact that they've not emerged as Senate nor speakers of the legislative, is not the end of it. The legislation is policy making. So, like you've rightly cited Ben Carlo, very active member. But look at what he is blessed with, from a spokesman of Rep. Today is recognized as is being endorsed and anointed as
APC.
Who knows if it was just a lobby, and then who knows, a like person like him might, if it is left in the hands of his colleague, might even emerge as the speaker. So, but this is where the position is bad. So they've come to say they're imposing or they're anointing such person, where someone that's really worked very hard and seriously to get the House of Representatives to its form and standard and values, today is being compensated for all he has done as a deputy speaker. Whereas if you have left this for the assembly members or the House of Representatives members to consider, perhaps such person from even the same party would have emerged as speaker. So it is eminent and important that this zone, no problem, but we can also go further to micro zone, no issues, but allow the members, the senators from that zone, to go and have their free fare of contest in the House.
Now, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I've also heard a lot of people say that why would anybody expect the Senate, for instance, to be led by somebody from the Southeast when the Southeast did not support this government? While I find that quite laughable, because it shouldn't reflect. Is it something you think the President-elect considered? I mean, he was part of the National Working Committee that came up with this zoning formula and the anointing.
If that is the case, if that is the body language of what we're seeing turning out, then it's a bad politics to play. But I don't think that is what it is. What it is what is happening. And I can assure you that before top appointment will roll out, we will also see where a Southeasterner will emerge, and they will be happy that they are part of the government. Immediately elections are over, you don't consider who voted and who didn't vote. It's time to govern, and it's time to get... The
President-elect had been very firm on that, hammering that he would be...
So it's time to
unite Nigeria.
Good. So it's time to pick persons from all aspects of the nation to ensure that they give good governance. And one thing that is lacking in our country is unity, not mouth-talking unity. Active projection of our unity means getting everybody from every state, from every zone, to ensure that they are part and parcel of governance. So, in as much as they are going continuing in what they are doing, I want to still plead seriously that the North Central, as it is shouting, the Southeast is also shouting. So they should keep going back to their meetings again and re-strategize to see how they can place these two zones to preeminence, and so that it will have a little balance. But I can assure you that it's not always going to be as balanced as we project. There's going to be an outlook. Don't forget, the president or the cabinet, this cabinet will all be projecting on how to win the next 4 years to get their 2 terms. So they will also be doing those projections alongside persons and zones they favor to get back into power after 4 years. That should not be done at the detriment of the country's projection.
Well, now we are seeing several senators aspiring to take leadership positions go take their campaigns to quarters that some of us find very interesting, and we also have 6 senators who are also trying to get to the top of the House, the Red Chamber. We are seeing them go against this party zoning, and they have said it out clear. We will continue this conversation after this short break. It promises to be interesting. This is still Joy Asonye Live. Welcome back from that short break. We've been discussing the APC zoning and legislative autonomy, and we had taken the conversation to the 6 senators that are aspiring for the leadership of the Red Chamber, that have refused to follow the zoning of their political party, what is in it for them? Can there someone up and have the sagacity to ensure they can win this against their party's zoning? Well, Comrade Alamboye is still with us. He is the National Coordinator, Green Assembly Initiative, and the National Secretary, Nigerian Youth Organization. So good to have you still be with us here. But do you think that these voices, these lone voices really that do not want to go with the the party zoning have a chance?
Yes, I think it's two ways. Now, let me tell you something. The chance they might have is if they are able, is numbers, whatever the game is, what to play in the chambers is numbers. If what they are pursuing, they have the blessings of their colleague, neck of the APC have said A, and they have gone to meet their colleagues and said, look, of course, yes, they've said this, but we, as members, it's our jurisdiction to say no to this. If they convince their members properly, they will go to that chambers. Of course, I don't think because they've said they've anointed a candidate, it is prohibiting for other candidates to take contest. I don't think so. So what will happen is that they will be envisaging that because the party has anointed Senator A, they expected that senators will vote that day. What if they do a thorough job and convince their candidates to say that, look, our party cannot do this position on us. This is the preferred person in our circle we should vote. And all those members also secretly agree, and then on that day, they surprise the party. That is
like what we saw in 2015.
In 2015.
It's
yes, that's a Saraki, if I can remember the Saraki.
Bukola Saraki.
It happens. So it's how well they can make their case to their colleagues.
Comrade, I'm talking. We're talking 6 others.
Yes,
they align well.
Yes,
because everybody seems to have the reason why they should emerge.
No, we've not seen. That's what I'm still saying the same thing. Out of 6, if Akpabio is not that is anointed is not among them, the 6 of them can come together and get one.
Right.
Get the followers of those 6 together. That's what I said. If they do their thorough job, I always like using the word lobby. That's the official word in the house. If they can lobby appropriately, whatever the president-elect TT, like you fondly call him, has put on place, would not make any and the APC National Committee. But if it is for the best interest of the nation, having checkmate all whatever that is happening, and that this is the preferred candidate, and the members in the house are sent to it, it will just take a go. They will only make their noise, make their voice heard, and sometimes again, who knows, it's also to attract other house committee heads to themselves. So when they keep insisting and to say they are not going to, they will be forcing themselves.
We have about 7 or 8 other political parties being represented in the house. We have the Labour Party.
Yes.
We have the NNPP. We have YPP.
You see what I told you. This is what I told you.
But my question would be,
apart from majority leader and minority leader in the house, there are no other principal offices that you consider party line. You consider the assembly. I'm talking about
assembly. Alignment here to vote. We are still talking about the emergence of the principal leaders of the house. I was just asking, with this composition of different parties, do you think we would have that kind of robust parliamentary duties by these people, or it's going to be one that, because a lot of them are greenhorns, I mean about 70% of them are just coming in for the first time. So are you looking forward to a kind of assembly where there is that checks and balances like we established earlier, and there is that healthy competition to get truly bills that would serve the Nigerian populace?
Yes, we may not have it if these principal officers are not allowed to come from the conviction of the 10th Assembly.
And not influenced.
Yes, I'm not also ruling out a political party influence on these matters. But what I'm ruling out is baptizing a candidate, anointing him, preferring him, and then pushing him to the face and truth of the 10th Assembly is quite wrong. There are genuine and legal ways to go about it. The party would is right in my own direction to have zone, so that they can have that balance they're looking out for. Then also microzone is okay, south, fine. You allow the legislators to go around, tinker themselves to say this is the best person we are taking. That man comes back to congratulate the party and recognize the party where it comes from, not the other way around they are doing. So if they are doing it this other way around, they are now imposing. Don't forget, in the near future, immediately the president-elect Titi, like you fondly call him again.
I do not. I'm not sure where you're coming with this. Comrade, they are trying to be very mischievous.
Immediately he's sworn in.
Are you talking about the Jagaban?
Yes, you call him Titi. Yeah, you call him president-elect Titi. So Tinubu is also Titi. So
I have no idea what you're saying.
We will begin to
Just go ahead, please.
We begin to see appointments. He's going to appoint a judicial head. He's going to appoint who takes charge of his administration, that is the Secretary General of the Federation. And what is his concern with the legislation? What is the concern with the party as regards legislation? So it is wrong, absolutely wrong. Where good policies and the brainchild of an administration, the workability, what protects whatever the government does, will be coming out with. If maybe it is compromised, we'll begin to see that staggering policies and not in compromising activities coming out from the legislation, where you will not see laws that will pursue corruption, absolutely, or somewhat absolutely, where you see laws emanating to get our structures, our structures strong enough to do, where you not see laws pursuing ministers to execute contracts and projects as is supposed to be constitutionally. So this is what we're going to see, because the party has imposed someone on them. It's going to be compromised all the way, and compromise both in executions, both in whatever they do, and the outcome will be what it is. Look at how we've suffered this regime, the President Muhammad Buhari regime. The man came on board with lots of envisagation for build up of the nation, but leaving the activities in the hands of few that directed it. They directed these things to their personal gains, and they are richer than the country. They are better than the country, as it were.
I'm not sure where you're driving at. When you said that President Muhammad Buhari left, is it the runnings of the country to some people? Is that where you're trying to go with this?
It will not be too fruitful to discuss that. I think we are almost at its exit. So let's discuss what concerns.
I agree with you. I agree with you. So let's talk about these campaigns. I'm seeing billboards. I'm seeing front pages having the faces of these legislators who are vying rather for the principal positions. And yet you and I know that the elections of the leaders of the National Assembly is a parliamentary duty exclusively reserved, yes, for elected members of the House, of both chambers. So my question, when you see this, Akpabio, for instance, Senator Akpabio has visited the president, he has visited the president-elect, he has visited so many people. We are seeing him visit everybody but those who would eventually elect him. And who knows, maybe that's the politics we play, where he has been anointed. Would you say that helped out?
Well, I don't know when the House election became. It has been a very silent election where, before you know, people are elected. But of course, like my friend would say, the nation is progressing, and in following up progression, maybe they've also decided to begin to put their contest at the pages of newspapers and news fronts, so that
and religious leaders
people can get abreast with what is happening directly and indirectly, so that because it is the people's representation that is in the assembly, so that in the National Assembly, right? So that people may even read and begin to tell their representative to come back home and say, look, we saw on the newspapers, we saw on social media, Senator A is contesting, please, we don't want him, it's what they want. So, but that's supposed to be the beauty of democracy, other than the party, conceiving those persons to impose them out again. Where you see Senator Akpabio's pictures and contest in every nooks and crannies in the country, it is giving rise to the people to say, where is he from? Where is he from? Question his credibility.
People?
Yes,
his constituency has already voted him. The 109 senators or 108 in this case know him.
We have lots of senators in the House of Representatives in their numbers representing people. And in a normal sense, they should go back to ask their people, we are trying to elect this person to lead us. Is it okay? Or they should stay in their house back to say, looking at this kind of person, the laws I want to, the bills I want to project for my people, to enhance my region.
Would this person align with it?
These are the frontal questions. These are the nation building important questions. Not questions like, will my party allow us to vote this person? But once they are senators, they are no more party properties alone. They are come to do the service of the nation. So putting their billboards, their adverts for positions of a senate president or whatever, principal houses in the it's two ways. It's laughable actually, because the business is just for the legislation. But of course, for the sake of progression, maybe they are putting it so that when anyone emerges, we'll be there. And then I've also blamed the media at some point again, the way they don't keep these things. There are stories that are not supposed to come out. But of course, we're in a country where everybody is interested.
I would like to know this indictment. I would like to know this indictment from the media. What you're saying is that
I'm sure that
a newspaper publication.
I'm not holding this for particular. There are some stories. There are some stories, some events that are supposed to be left until it happens. If there are tussles between political parties, between candidates,
they should set aside the mandate of being the media in ensuring that
does not mean that they bring everything down to where Kwabi has done this, where this one has done this to the public. But
that is what is happening. We are ensuring that Nigerians know what is happening.
Yes,
even though it is not within their purview.
We are saying the same thing. We are saying the same thing. If it is good,
you are indicting the media, and I really wanted to know what you mean by that.
If it is for projection, positive projection, good and fine. But if it is made to incite what is happening, then I sit on the wrong line. I was asking, and I don't think you quite understood my question or have answered it. I wanted you to tell me if what he did, the move around the entire country, visiting everybody that is somebody. Do you think it helped in his emergence as the anointed candidate? I want to attribute. Now, talking about Senator Akpabio, is a strong-willed politician that would want to stand for what he wants. So he has known that to win the hearts of whoever that may be influential in assisting him to become the Senate president, he is visiting. He also knows that the National Working Committee of his party chairman, the president-elect, the vice president-elect, the outgoing senators, he knows that these are people that can be influential to talking to other members. And I think if he is the one that is blessed today, all those activities he has done, reaching out to them, making them know that he is very, very responsive this time around to deliver the dividend of democracy through policy, through good policy grounds. They have listened to him. No other person had gone, or perhaps they have also listened to others, but he has made more sense to their conviction, and then the party has decided to bless or anoint or confirm him. Have you also heard the narrative? So I want to believe that. Have you also heard the narrative that he was first to step aside for? Yeah, I'm coming to that. Yes, I'm coming to that. So that would have also contributed. And don't forget that during, like you're rightly going to cite out, during the primaries of the APC. Don't forget he was the first to concede to the president, today's president-elect, and those things are not done at a platter of gold. There must be something to pay out for it. And then, if he has also positioned himself, having living that, you saw the struggle he went through to get back the senatorial ticket, which I thought was even in court. I don't know how it ended. I think the man he won the case. He won the case. Okay, all right. I thought the man withdrew from court, but all of them sort of won the case. I saw how they pursued. Ayade won the case. How he pursued it with his life and tooth and nail to make sure that he got victory in the That is to tell you that he has it's
He's
something.
He's the Jagaban of the South South.
It's something he has planned to achieve outside clinching.
Presidential.
Yes, clinching his presidential ambition. He understands that he has to come down to be very active in today's politics by leading the legislation, and you see the ferocity he's using to fight it, and ensuring that he's convincing his colleagues. Every party that is concerned that can make it work is going around without looking at anybody and projecting it in the media front to let everybody know that as though he's even the only candidate that is set and ready for that. This is one strategy Tinubu used in spite of all odds that even went against him. He stood firm in his heel else as people speculated, was doing his blah blah, and then talking to the people that heard that language, and today is the one thing I like. I also admire the governor of Rivers State in the statement after when it comes to election. I said,
we go again.
Every time anything to win first, and that is the concept. Tinubu had gone out to win first, and then the rest is left in the judiciary. And you can see Akpabio again using that drive again, not leaving any stone untouched, ensuring that he is supported and he has gathered that support, and the rest is left for June when they will assemble to elect officially their. So
moving forward, we have an Ojus Okalu who also believes it is his turn as well, and that he will be there representing the Northeast. So moving forward, what would you advise the APC to do? It's obvious that we have other aspirants in the race who have refused to accept this zoning arrangement.
Politics do not favor everybody at a time. And they know, even if all the APC candidates in the Senate had come out to say they want to run for the Senate presidency, one will emerge, one will be supported, one will be baptized, one will be anointed. So when it does not, it's not your, it doesn't fall on you. I appraise, or I pray that you go back and support whoever it has just read. Those persons that can, if Oji Uzakalo as a badge, would you be talking about the disadvantage of party endorsing somebody there? But again, I said the fight is not over. The decision is going to be made come June, I think 9th of June or so. The decision is going to be made. So I don't think it's over. The party
until
is
the very day
until very day until it's over. So it shouldn't give up. But I wouldn't want to see where there is apathy or reluctancy inside of legislation to say that they keep the this, or go back, take us back to what happened in the Saraki saga. While they are doing one in the legislation, another one is going on, and they have announced somebody. They should be more coordinated to see how, irrespective or despite the pronouncements of the party, still believe that though it's not a party affair. Let us go inside there and then fight it out. Who knows? After that, they will still sit down to say who are the principal officers that will, take committee leaders, and all those things are still there. So it's not a must that you must emerge as a Senate president. At the time, we are going to have only one Senate president, and out of the thousands of persons that will contest for it, just one person will emerge and pilot the affairs of the 10th Assembly. But it is also eminent that anyone that have not been baptized or that loses that in-house election should come back again to say, how do we forge on? Get a committee, become committee heads, and then see how they can contribute those fantastic policy drive and experience they have in heading those committees, and ensure that the Tinubu administration, if not taken out by the courts, achieve its best essence of coming to governance. Okay,
so do you think with this tussle and rancor within the APC, the opposition would not slid in there and win this? If we are finding people who do not agree with this alignment, they might just then align with opposition, because believe it or not, we also have strong candidates in the oppositions who believe that
why I'm not going that route is because there are so many litigations going on now. So we may not really get by June. We won't have been able to get a direct and confirmed figure of how many members are there in the APC. They are just still temporary members until any of them that have litigations in the courts are over. If not, one would have said that.
If we are going by that, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Yes, that's what
everybody has litigation.
No.
It's not everybody.
It's not everybody.
That become part of the electoral.
It's not everybody.
Maybe not everybody, but a large number of.
Good. Maybe some large.
Yeah, a large number of them have.
That's why I'm discussing this as 9th Assembly. If we've gotten an authentic number, you see, this is where the legislation should also come in quickly. When they act, very sensible and sincere legislators should quickly pick up a bill to pursue litigations ending before all these processes happen. Because you ask a very sensitive question: what if in all of this tussle, the opposition party snatches it? They can achieve that if their numbers are good enough. If their coalition,
if they can lobby into the APC that
and then the APC that faction that is aggrieved are also numerous. If they join together and have a formation, they might defeat even who the party has blessed. As it happened again during the Saraki era, it was very, very strategic.
But would that be, before that, I think this should be my last question, would that be such a bad thing, having that opposition in the red and green chambers leading, without having the APC? If hypothetically the opposition is able to
it becomes an individual. It becomes an individual thing because the ability, the thoughts to stifle the propelling projects, glaring projects or activities of the government might be shortchanged or sabotaged. So this is why it is not too good. But if such person that is there have the interest of the country at heart, and then is sitting down there to preside over policies that will enhance the government he needs to get it done. So we saw how and when the Saraki saga, what happened. I don't want to go back to that, but this is what would happen, and that's why they are always guiding against this kind of a thing. And that's why in my thought they also went down to microzone and even blessed a candidate so that but the inefficiencies of that is more compared to when you go allow the members to also make their own opinion and get a better leader for themselves.
Comrade Alamboye, I must thank you for being part of the program. He's the National Coordinator of Green Assembly Initiative, and we've been discussing APC zoning and legislative autonomy. My name is Joy Asonye. We'll be back tomorrow with more. This is where we close the program. Have a wonderful evening.